Welcome back, Shalligator. We've got like 3 pieces of big news out of the Kardashian camp because 3 of the Kard Jenners, and well, 2 and 1 ancillary one honorable mention, have just gone Instagram official with their significant others. Maybe it was Valentine's Day that had love in the air. Maybe they realized that the show is ending and they need to stay relevant. Who knows? Cupid works in mysterious ways. But today, we're going to talk about Kourtney Kardashian going Insta-offish with her boyfriend, well, her friend turned boyfriend, Blink-182 drummer Travis Barker. She posted a picture of Travis's, like, I say, middle school notebook hand because it's like, that's exactly what my notebook looked like in middle school because I was doodling all day long. And apparently, he doesn't need like a 3M spiral notebook. He can just use his body. He's outwardly extremely different than her. And we actually did do a video on these two, breaking down whether or not opposites attract. What does science say? What does the data say? We're going to do a little baby recap of that. But more than that, we're going to kind of take it to the next level. We're going to talk about how to date someone who is very different than you. Maybe it's a different religion, a different race. Maybe it's something as small as he's blue collar, I'm corporate, or vice versa. I'm going to give you the tools and tips to make sure you can craft a harmonious relationship. But before we get started, and speaking of dating, catch up on my IRL dating adventures with my new blog, Eat, Pray, Love. You can sign up right down there. Also, if you want a video shout out for a friend, a birthday wish, anything like that, head on over to Cameo and find me on Shallon XO. I love doing cameos. They're such a fun way to connect with you guys. You can also ask me a dating question there, or you can head to my website, shallonlester.com. Question submissions are back open again. I also do Instagram reviews just to make sure your networks are sending a positive message and the right message you want. So speaking of messages getting sent on Instagram. So this is the pic Kourtney posted. No caption, just them holding hands. I mean, obviously. But like I said, she's not the only Kard Jenner who is going Instagram official. Kendall had 2 announcements that no one really saw coming. She's Instagram official with Devin Booker, the basketball player. Cool. Kendall just is not, I just kind of don't care what she's doing. I don't know. I don't know. Do you guys, good for her. Great. She also announced that she has a tequila line. I didn't even know she drank, let alone was a tequila aficionado. Cool. Okay. Random. And then the third, like I said, ancillary Kard Jenner, Scott Disick, went Instagram official with his girlfriend, the almost legal child Amelia Hamlin, sister of Delilah Bell Hamlin. These two, Scott is what, almost 40, Delilah's 19. She also seems like she's scared of her own shadow. She just seems not built for this public life. Delilah does. She's got that sort of she just got that thing. Amelia just doesn't. I remember watching her on The Real Housewives. I was like, that girl, she just seems fragile. But isn't that who Scott goes for? Because he's kind of manipulative, you know? And I know what you're saying. Shallon, you date younger guys. Yeah, I don't date fragile ones. I date alpha male. They just happen to have 20 years less than, some dudes around. But they're not shrinking. They put me in my place. Don't you worry about that. But like I said, catch up on my dating foibles. I'm posting actually Tinder people. I'm totally posting Tinder profiles on my blog because some of them are so egregious. Do you think that I should block their faces out? I kind of don't think so. I mean, if they're doing something hateful in the caption, maybe just a bar over there. I'll do a bar over their eyes. Maybe. So I guess if we had to put money on one couple going the distance, I would say maybe Kourtney and Travis, just because they've got such a foundation there. Scott is going to chew up and spit out poor Amelia, leave her just a broken little bird. Her parent, turn the hose on them. What are y'all doing? Devin and Kendall, who cares? They're just 2 humans who exist. Good for you guys. Yay. But then again, I think about it and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Kourtney and Travis do appear to be so different. So is this just he's been after her forever and she's saying okay, fine. And you guys had asked for the topic, how to turn a friend into a boyfriend. Do you know why I'm not doing that topic? Because I have no fucking idea. That is the one thing I can say I don't know. And other things, if I don't have firsthand knowledge, I can learn about. I can read studies and I can talk to you guys. This, I'm I have no clue. I don't know. I don't really have guy friends. I mean, if I do, I've either hooked up with them in the past and that's out of the way and now we can just be friends, Or I'm like, I would never date you. I'd never date you. And there's nothing you can do to convince me. Because I look at boys the way guys look at girls. Like, I immediately scan you for fuckability. And if I say no, like, you never get out of that category. And if you're in that category, I go after you, like, right away. Like, I don't friend zone a guy to, like, go back to him later. I don't bide my time. It's like, if I like you, I like you. And, like, all right, let's get it on. Like, see where this goes. So, I don't know. If you have turned a friend into a boyfriend, tell me how. I'm super curious. So let's talk about opposites, right? Because like I said, we did a video and studies, there's been a lot of research about this. Studies have overwhelmingly found that actually, no, opposites don't attract. When we say attract, I don't mean like, oh, you look at him across from you, like that rockabilly guy is kind of hot. That's not what we mean. When we say attract, we mean, does it foster long-term compatibility, right? Can you build an actual relationship with someone who is very different than you? Well, the key is defining what different means. Because yeah, on the outside, Kourtney and Travis, super different. But a lot of you guys pointed out after that video that their sensibilities are actually very similar. Like, they're both weird health nuts, like bone broth. Can I fucking talk about bone broth for a minute? I bought a quart of bone broth, okay, from this, like, local place. It was $12. It comes in, like, you know, the soup when you order, like, soup for delivery. $12 for this. It's just bones. And it tastes greasy and bland at the same time. It's so gross. I had to add like all this salt and hot sauce to it. And I'm like, what am I even doing? What am I doing here? This is just beef stock. I feel like I'm eating fucking crazy pills. If anyone has an idea about how to make this $12 mistake something palatable, great. Because you know what I've been doing? I've been putting it on Cowboy's food. And he's like, this is delicious. I was like, you have bad taste. You eat things off the ground. So, okay. But I digress. Back to Kourtney and Travis. So they have more things in common than you think. They have exes who they're very close with, and they're co-parenting properly. They've both been famous since they were basically like teenagers and young adults, so they understand that. So when you look at it, it's like, okay, a lot of things align, perhaps more than we would say. So there's 4 factors in terms of alignment when we say different, okay? And go back and watch the video because I go way into more detail about this. Long-term goals, right? Attitudes about sex, how you recreate, and general attitudes about the world. Are you conservative? Are you liberal? Do you like to travel? Are you a homebody? If those 4 things don't click, you're kind of dead in the water. And interestingly, they said the sexual one is one of the biggest. Like, that is huge. If you are very adventurous and you have someone who's like kind of afraid of their body and they think sex is gross and dirty and you're going to hell if you do it, that's not going to last long. So if you have all those 4 things, those core beliefs aligned, yeah, maybe one person's got a sleeve of tattoos. Maybe the other person takes half-naked selfies in her walk-in closet. Okay. So what do you do if you're either trying to date someone who's very different or you are entering into a relationship with someone who's very different? Well, like I said, look at those 4 things. Science doesn't lie. Data don't lie, baby girl. If you don't have those, it's an uphill battle. And you know what you have instead? Resentment. Think about if you want kids and he doesn't, okay? Resentment, resentment, resentment. Because when 2 people, he doesn't want kids, you do, it's a standoff. And everyone thinks the other person's going to change their mind. I am currently, right now, watching several people I know in relationships do that exact thing. No, he wants to move out of Montana. I just know it. Like, really? Because he was born and raised here. He's been here his whole life. I don't think he's leaving. No, he's going to go back to law school. I don't think he will, girl. He seems real happy being a mechanic. I know that he wants kids. It's just a matter of time. Really? Because he's been extremely vocal about the fact that he doesn't for a variety of what you consider nonsense reasons, but they're valid to him. And what does this do? Wastes our life. It wastes our life. Because you know what? At the end of the day, and this is fucked up, but this is biology and this is reality, there is a clock that ticks for us. And it sucks. If you want to have kids, I mean, there's a finite amount of time. Guys, not so much. So even if, and I'm not even saying this, like, well, our difference isn't about kids. Okay, maybe it's life differentials. He wants to leave, you don't. You want to have a successful career. He's shit kicking happy working at Applebee's. If we still, as women, move through life knowing that time is finite. Men don't. They're like, what is mortality? Like, we know mortality all the time. We're constantly reminded that one day we're going to be unbeautiful and irrelevant and infertile and useless, right? Bullshit. But if that's what we want, we got to get our head out of our ass and date smarter, not harder, and stop telling ourselves that someone's going to change. But I digress. First it was the bone broth, now it's this. So how do you craft a relationship that does work? Okay, let's say you do have these factors aligned, right? Maybe there's one missing. Maybe you don't know about your long-term goals. Maybe it's recreation. That is actually the number one. That's like, it's sex and then recreation. Because think about it. If you, on a Saturday morning, you like to sleep in, you want to watch TV, maybe do a face mask, and he's like, up at 6, we're going cross-country skiing. And you're like, no, I can't even connect with friends who are like that. I have my one friend, Allie here, she keeps asking me to go on a sunrise hike. I'm like, literally, it's never going to happen. Never. And another friend, like, she doesn't drink. And I'm like, okay, well, okay. It's hard to connect. So the way around this is to come up with new recreation just for yourselves, right? I tell you guys all the time when you ask me about like how to put the spark in a relationship, how to make love last, have a thing that is just yours. My mom, when she was working in medicine, a lot of her patients were geriatrics, and she would ask people who are still married, she's like, what do you think the secret is to staying married? And she noticed a correlation between happily long married couples and dancing. They all danced. Isn't that interesting? It's pretty hard to be mad at someone when you're dancing cheek to cheek. I've heard that like a tactic for when you're in an argument with your partner is to hold hands, because it reminds you of the humanity of the person. It brings you closer together, and it fosters a sense of peace versus victory. Dancing kind of does the same thing. It's very physical. It releases endorphins. Those are the bonding hormones, you know? And she's like, it's also the kind of thing that they just did with one another. Like, yeah, you can have other parties, you can practice, but it's sexual and romantic. I'm not saying you guys have to go out and take ballroom dancing classes, but maybe you should. Maybe you should join a co-ed volleyball league together. Maybe you should both take up needlepoint. My ex-boyfriend and I used to needlepoint, and he's like, this is so soothing. I'm like, I know. And we would like needlepoint things for each other. Take a baking class, learn to make sushi, learn German together. That's what I did with another boyfriend. I was trying to learn German so we could like have our own little like secret language. Turns out he had plenty of other secrets. So didn't need a whole other language. Didn't need a whole other language for that. So even if all you do together is a book club where you read the same book and discuss it, or have like theme nights, like we read a book from an Italian author, Cesare Pavese, go for him. It's wonderful. Family. And then like make pasta together. It's about finding commonalities, because the worst thing you can do is highlight your differences. Worst thing you can do. We see this on the macro level in America, right? We see how it is when people claim they want equality, actually don't. And it's just very, very divisive. Same in a relationship. When someone's like, yeah, I love you, I want to be with you, but then they keep highlighting the differences. You know I date younger guys, right? The number one factor, the main deal breaker of like whether a guy gets me on like step one with me, is he always calling attention to our age difference. The guys I've dated who are younger, we never even bring it up. It's like not a thing. We connect as people. I mean, every once in a while, I'll be like, okay, you don't know Nelly, but you should. But here is a Nelly song I'm going to play for you. Like little things like that. But if a guy's like, so like, what were the 90s like? Because I was just a toddler. It's like, bye. Like, adios. It's not attractive to me, and it's divisive. It puts me in a position of defensiveness, right? And it puts him in a position of like, I don't know, what I consider inferiority. A lot of you guys have this experience if you are trying to date white guys and you're not white. All my best friends are Asian and they are very wary of white dudes who only date Asian chicks, because they're exoticizers. They're like, ooh, you're so different. And she's like, I'm from fucking Pasadena. All right, dude, I went to USC. Like, really not that different at all. But the point is, the guys are trying to highlight the differences. Why? Not because, oh, it's so interesting. It's a power thing. It's a power differential, right? When we highlight the difference between someone, inherently, it has a subtext, usually one of power. Think about it, someone's like, oh, you're vegan. Oh. What's the obvious assumption about their feelings towards vegans? Ugh. It's very different if someone's like, oh, you're vegan? Oh, completely different meaning, right? And that's only nonverbal. The point is, if your different person is coming at you with that you're vegan kind of attitude, they're looking for a power differential. They're putting you down, and maybe the only reason they are dating you is because you're so different. And because their ego might be weak, maybe they're a beta male or a beta female, they want to date someone who's different so that they can make it an us versus them thing, and therefore it's a battle, and a battle they think that they get to win. Oh, okay. I've told you I date younger guys. I've also dated guys of like every imaginable race. I dated black guys, Korean dudes, short guys, fat guys, thin guys, like rock stars, mechanics. I go based way on chemistry. Like I'm all about chemistry. And so my dating history is all over the map. And when I date someone, if I'm dating someone who doesn't look like me, doesn't necessarily like have my history, maybe doesn't have my same goals, like they're blue collar and like that's what they want to build a house from scratch. And like, I can't think of anything worse than building a house from scratch. I want to like turn the key and walk on in, have it completely furnished. I am with them because I'm curious about them. I find it fascinating. But you know what? That's been a hardship dating out here in Montana is guys look at me and they assume I'm going to judge them and not like them. They assume I am going to play up the differences between us in negative ways. And it's actually not the case at all. I'm like, wow, you can drive a tractor? What's a backhoe? Except for this girl in college, because that's what we called her. I'm fascinated by dudes out here and strong guys out here. I mean, I dated Vince, I've dated other guys. They're fascinated by me right back. They are curious about the differences between us. They're not using it as a tool or a weapon or a chip on their shoulder. But some guys have. And those are not the relationships that lasted. The Hurt Locker, the one I talk about on my blog, he was forever highlighting the differences between us. And I'm like, there's so much more that we have in common than we have different. But your flaccid little ego can't really take that. You don't think you can like win against me. Why is it a competition? It's fucking not. So you have to like cut me down. It's leveling. So it's very important we look at our relationships and our dynamic and ask ourselves if any of us, including ourselves, are doing that to the other person. If you are, get out of there. Sometimes we date people to explore different sides of our personality, to get eyes on new horizons. And that's great, but we can't do it in a usury way. We can't do it in a way that's like, I'm exoticizing. Another way to foster a healthy relationship with someone who's not all that similar to you, except that there might be some things you don't talk about. I'm a Democrat. There's not a ton of us out here in Montana. I mean, I've got a bone and a half to pick with my party right now. This woke liberal cancel culture movement, it's not coming from the Trumpers. It's coming from our own people, okay? And all it's doing is alienating people, turning allies into enemies. I've watched it happen. I have watched my Democratic friends who are diehard Dems lean the other way. But again, I digress. The point is, there's a lot of Republicans here. Pretty much every guy dates a Trumper, right? Vince was a Trumper. I know. But we just kind of realized there were certain topics we don't talk about. And I mean, because it was getting contentious. I'm an arguer. I am a bit of a fighter. If you bring up something and try to debate me, you are most likely going to lose. I will debate you into the fucking ground. I'll keep it up as long as it takes, right? It's great. So I don't want that dynamic in a relationship. It's stressful and it's unfun and unsexy. And I can't just like shut it off and slough it off. It's like, okay, let's have sex. I'm like, get the fuck away from me forever. Get the fuck away from me forever. Like I just can't do it. So we made a rule, no politics. And we were dating during election season and that was tough. And so I'm like, okay, every time we want to bring up something political, we bring up something sexual. Even if it's silly, even if it's pervy and weird, I'd rather hear that than a lecture about data collection from corporations. That makes me want to fill my vagina up with cement and never use it again. So thanks. If your headbutting thing is religion, whatever it might be, know that, and annex it out of your conversations. But also know that that might really inhibit the longevity of the relationship. That's one of the 4 pillars of compatibility. Outlook in the world, long-term goals. And also look, I hate to say judge a book by its cover, but I think we do get a lot of data by how people dress and look. Perhaps for the first time in history, people are expressing themselves physically, fashion-wise, hair, makeup, all that, in a way that has never been done. You look back at like photos from like the early 1900s and like every man's in the bowler hat and the women are in the big bustles. Like there's no chick in a sweatsuit. There's no dude in overalls. Like nobody's doing anything different. So here now, when we see someone present in a physical way, we can get a lot of data out of that. And I was talking to one of my friends about Travis Barker. I was like, I would never date Travis Barker. And I was like, why? I was like, or she asked me why. I said, it's the tattoos. And she's like, you don't like tattoos? And I boiled it down because I'm like, I have no problem with tattoos. Most guys I've dated have like at least some. And I think it's like kind of hot. But when I see a full sleeve like that, and it took me like a minute to kind of get to the root of this, it means he's not going to like country music. It means he's not going to like country. And therefore, he's probably not going to like all the redneck shit I like to do. Blowing stuff up, shotgun and white claws, barrel racing, going mud and all that stuff. He's not maybe going to be into that. And what pillar is that? Recreation, right? So we have to be honest about who someone presents himself to be is most likely who they are. So this is my last point. Do not think you're going to change someone. Have you ever had someone try to change you? It's incredibly insulting. It's incredibly insulting. Ew, country. It's like, okay, I heard you the first fucking time. You don't have to like it. I like it. I don't need you to shit all over my Garth Brooks playlist just because you want to go listen to like System of a Down or Pop Smoke or whatever. Different strokes for different folks. It again sets up this us versus them thing. And you don't want a guy setting that up because he's got some weird power issue. We can't set it up because we're like, if he just tries Luke Bryan, he is going to love him. Maybe, maybe not. And that has to be respected. It has to be respected. Because what I've realized is when we don't respect that, he'll change his mind about kids. He'll change his mind about sushi. He'll change his mind about travel. No, he won't. And if we feel like we have to have that, if we have to change a guy, you know what we are? Desperate. Desperate. We are terrified to be alone. We have told ourselves that this perfect, not at all perfect in terms of compatibility, man in front of us is the only shot we got. A fixer-upper is all we can afford. That's it. That's it. We got to refinish this piece of furniture and turn it into something because by God, we can't go out and buy something that actually works. Really? Why not? So while dating someone who's very, very different than you can be a sign of open-mindedness and alpha, and I want to pack build, I want to learn about other people. This is fascinating. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your experience and your religion and your race. It can also be indicative of cold-bloodedness, of a fear-based brain, of desperation dating. So we got to be real honest with ourselves about the place we're coming from. And the way to figure it out, am I chronically trying to change guys? Am I trying, oh, they're so different, but then I'm chronically trying to like wedge them into this life, this religion, this whatever to fit what I am and what I want. So that means I'm not honest about what I actually want and need. Maybe I want to date someone who is exactly like me. Great. Who cares? Do it, you know? Koalas and jaguars don't mate. Get yourself a fellow fucking jaguar if that's what you want. But you have to be honest about that. We don't want to be changed. We don't want a power differential against us. We cannot foist that upon other people. Because you know what? There's so many men out there. Everywhere you look. I bet you've seen 10 to 20 today alone. They're everywhere. Not hard to find. Find one that actually fits. Because what do we say about love? Love is not two people looking at each other. It's two people looking out in the same direction. So time will tell if Kourtney and Travis are looking out in the same direction. We shall see. In the meantime, come back. We're going to be doing so many more videos. There's a lot going on. Yeah, I'll see you later, Shalligators. Mwah!